So Shay, when you saw the trailer for The End of Oak Street, were you excited? Did you avoid the trailer, or did it see you? And like me, did you go, "Oh man, that looks terrible"?
I think I did see a trailer for it a long time ago, actually. And it was like a teaser trailer, so it was more like intrigue. And whatever the trailer was, it left me with the impression. I remember that there was time travel, but for some reason, I didn't recall it being like only dinosaurs. In my head, there was like other shit going on too, but evidently that was not the case because, yes, it was very much just a I said the best Jurassic World movie yet.
Yeah, I would agree heavily with that. Because this is the thing is like this podcast is typically our spoiler thoughts on the movie, and you can't talk about this movie without talking about the dinosaur component. And to be fair, dinosaurs are in the trailer. Every studio executive's known since the '90s. You put a dinosaur in the movie, it's going to make money. Like I don't think there's been a bombing
Even
dinosaur
if they're
movie.
utter dog crap like the Jurassic World franchise.
Oh, I thought you were going to be like more sincere about that because those still made billions or at least tons of millions. But I thought you were going to say 65 with Adam Driver. That was an
Didn't you
unforgivable.
watch that on a plane when we
I
were like
did. I
coming
watched it
back
at
from,
two
was that
times speed.
Mexico?
Yeah, I watched it at two times speed. By the middle of the movie, I was like, wow, this is ass. But people just love dinosaurs. On that note, I would say I had rock bottom expectations for this. Other than the director being the guy that did It Follows, everything about this, I was kind of like, geez, like this could have been like Mark Wahlberg instead of Ewan McGregor, and I would have thought the tone based on the trailer would have been better. But I
Mm-hmm.
am glad it was Ewan McGregor and Anne Hathaway. I actually
Mm-hmm.
surprisingly really enjoyed this because I had rock bottom expectations because the trailer did look like corny bad, or like they weren't aware that it was going to come off this way. But I think it balanced the line ultimately well enough for me as a avid moviegoer, and I'm excited to kind of hear what you thought of the movie because I've been kind of queuing up my thoughts for a while now.
All right. Well, I'll kick off with the spoiler-free stuff too, so we can quickly jump in because we didn't have a full review for this. But I was in the opposite camp on the outset, so by the time I got around to seeing it, there was a bit of hype from this movie. One of my I love his yearly videos that he does, and he's a reviewer for. Oh Christ, I don't even know the outlet he writes for anymore. But David Ehrlich, I think is how you say his name, and he like glowing review for this. I think it was a 4 on his letterbox, which is very high for him. So I was kind of a little like, oh shit, like I was trying to make sure my expectations didn't get too high going in, because I saw this on a Sunday with a group. Um and overall I will say that, yeah, I really like this. Like I would say I liked it, close to really like it. Like I'm kind of teetering on that edge. I think it's a movie I'll remember a little bit longer, specifically beats that we'll get into in the spoiler part of this. But overall, I definitely think it's worth going to see in the theater, especially if you've already seen The Odyssey and are waiting for something else to come out. This is the movie to go support. I think it's like that perfect pocket of like mid budget, but still looks really good. And like great cast in terms of the lead cast. I will say I did not think I liked the kids as much, but I struggle
Yeah,
to tell how much of that was performance or just character, but I do think it's like a
we'll
bit
get
of
into that,
both.
but narratively as well, I think the kids were props for just Ewan McGregor and Hathaway to act off of. They actually had zero narrative, like belonging to the movie. You
Yeah,
know,
there
you
was
could have cut them
beats
all
that
out.
it added to, like again, we'll get into in the spoiler side, but like more like to further the parent's story. I didn't really care about either of the kids functionally.
Totally.
So that's kind of where I ended up falling on that. But yeah, like overall, this was, like I said, and I meant that sincerely. I think the Jurassic World franchise has been shit. I hate it. And so this was like, and I was kind of over the dinosaur. Like I'm not, I don't have that affinity for Jurassic Park like everybody else does. I really like it. I think it's great, but it's not like this milestone movie for me or anything. And without a doubt, I think this is probably like my next favorite dinosaur kind of movie that I can think of off the top of my head. So, but like it occupies, I'll just caveat all that by saying it definitely occupies like a solid movie movie. I would feel like it's hard to like, oh, this is phenomenal and there's like greatness in this. I don't think it's that. I think it's back to the just like very solid, like a very solid, like 7.5 kind of game that I would say, which again, for me is higher if I consider an average or a boring middling movie to be a 5. So that's what I mean on that.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. I really liked it. I don't think it really pushed it to the point where I like loved it, but I would definitely compare this to any Jurassic Park in the last decade and say I prefer more of this. Like
Yeah.
I almost want there to be more of this. I think my buddy was like, as soon as we got out, it was like new Dinosaur IP just dropped. Did you see it yet? And I was like, oh, fresh out of the theater. But yeah, I dug it a lot. And for context, when you said I didn't even think about this till now, but you said it was like kind of medium budget. It's budgeted around 80 to 90 million, which
Mhm.
is pretty conservative considering how good I think this movie looked. Like there are set
Yep.
pieces in it that I felt, yeah, definitely beat Jurassic World Dominion or whatever the last couple Jurassic Worlds were, where I thought were like narratively terrible and just kind of like you know, they elevate that to the point where it's like, do you want super T-Rex? We got super mega T-Rex, where this was just back to basics, good setup, good little atmosphere. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, spoiler free thoughts on it. Just I would say go check it out. Go in blind as you can. If you're hearing this PSA now, it's already too late because I told you about how awesome the dinosaurs were. I think the most annoying thing, and I would say this is probably a spoiler warning as we're getting into the meat of this podcast, is there's a handful of people in my crowd that just literally came only for the dinosaurs. Probably self-included, but they were the people that in the movie that as soon as they're like hinting at anything paranormal or weird in that first act, which I thought was pretty well building to that, you know,
Mhm.
they were like, oh, a dinosaur. Is a dinosaur. It's a dinosaur poop. It's a T-Rex poop. And I just kept having that thought of like, man, if I went in blind to this, like this, you know, something I found years later in like a bargain bin or something, I would be so blown away by this whole movie from that mystery and like where's it going with it. But fair enough though, you do need to sell the dinosaur aspect to get butts in seats. So lots of really great memorable beats. I'm thinking off the top of my head, like there's the one with like the serpent in the hallway that creeps through the whole house as everyone's kind of oblivious to it. It felt like an
All
Austin
right,
Powers
that's
bit.
a
I like
perfect
that.
one to dig into though, because there was a thing that this movie didn't do related to that drove me fucking crazy. And I don't know if it got cut or there was something else, but the thing that made me pissed off, and now that we're comfortably into spoilers here, the flooded basement, you're telling me they didn't do anything with that flooded basement? Like, why would the stake not come through that flooded basement? Because it was driving me fucking bonkers because they set it up right at the beginning, like when the world turns and shit, and they're like, oh fuck, our basement's flooded. Immediately, I was like, bar that fucking door, dude. There's gonna be something in that water. Like, I was like panicking about it. And then like I was like, oh fuck, okay, there like I thought something would happen and nothing happened. It was an emotional beat about her manuscript or whatever. But then there's the scene like near the end where she's just sitting in the fucking doorway with the door open, like with her feet in the water, basically. And I'm like, oh my fucking god, like something's gonna come out of there. And it fucking didn't. And the movie was like, I couldn't believe that it didn't pay that off. It drove me absolutely crazy because I assumed because they show the snake originally in the pool. I was like, oh fuck, that snake's gonna move into
And that
their
was only like two
basement, isn't
doors
it?
down too. Like that was like
Yeah,
their
and then it just
neighbor's
and then
yard.
they like do the window, and I was like, oh fuck, like it was fine. It was a great sequence, but I just fucking hated like to throw a fucking alligator in there. Like they had a million fucking things they could have done with that water, and they did nothing but just destroy her manuscript.
I mean, aside from that absolutely valid like take, and I would argue maybe a nitpick, there was a ton of good use of dinosaurs like spread out through the movie. I was worried
Yeah,
because I think there's at least twice where they do the Jurassic Park thing of like,
yeah.
oh, quick, we gotta
Doo-doo.
doo doo. They run up and they hide behind something or get trapped in a car as something bigger or more scary or like a herd of them runs past them. Like, there's a few of those scenes, but it didn't ever feel like super repetitive, which I definitely have felt in
Mhm.
other Jurassic Park movies as of late. But yeah, that scene specifically with the serpent, I this is like again another terrible audience moment. It's like the Toronto man's accent I keep talking about. There's two dudes a few rows in front of me, or no, I think they were beside me because I couldn't look at them, but I feel like I knew exactly what they look like based on the way they were talking. So there's a few moments where they're like, "Yo, no, no, fam, no," like just reacting like the Toronto roadman would when stuff was going on. Again, eliciting good reaction from the audience. It wasn't like they were talking. It wasn't like they're having a conversation. It was like they were reacting to the movie, and I love seeing it. But that one scene specifically with the serpent, when the little boy starts to pull out his bow and arrow, and he's aiming it, and like he's been whipping every shot with that bow and arrow. To be fair, the whole movie, like one of the most useless things up until that point, pulls the bow and arrow out. And he goes to shoot the snake, and as he's like holding it up, ready to shoot, you just hear these two guys go, "Yo, fam, unload, unload!" Like empty the clip of bow and arrows into the guy. I was just kind of like, "Yeah, bro, it's coming. He's gonna hit it." But yeah, he just shoots that one arrow, and then saves
Did he
Anne
hit
Hathaway.
anything with that arrow? Like, I
Just the
think he
broadside
missed.
of that serpent. He hit the serpent
Yeah,
one
yeah,
time,
yeah.
which
Like,
caused Anne Hathaway to like realize the snake was there.
yeah,
Just freaked
like
out.
go back. But I honestly, there was things about this movie, moments where I wanted it to go further. And this was, I want to caveat this too with a little bit about like, I thought this movie was mean. There's a bit we'll talk about. I don't want to like sidetrack
Oh
the
yeah,
conversation with that part, but there's a like they go there and I was impressed with that. And I was kind of fucking pissed off. Once again, can't tell performance or just character. But the fact that that fucking kid didn't get got by that snake, I thought like it was set up once again. Like, it's these two moments now where I feel like the movie sets things up perfectly and didn't execute. And one was that water scene, but the other was the hopelessness of that snake. Like, the way Anne Hathaway is just stabbing the shit out of it to the point of exhaustion. I really
yeah.
wanted it to be that futile. I really wanted her to do all she could in that moment and it not fucking work and that kid get got and then the snake leave. But, like, they didn't, and it gave us this happy ending, which in hindsight, you could have just given us the same happy ending and brought the kid back alive too. Spoilers for the ending, obviously, but like it just pissed me off because I felt like the movie flirted with that mean spirit a few times and does things a couple times where I was like, oh shit, like, and it just was kind of energizing me for like having the stones to go there. And then there's these couple beats where I was like, ah shit, like I really thought like the movie itself set that up, like the hopelessness as like Anne Hathaway just like gives up because she has nothing
Yeah.
left. And then it's still like just left. I was like, oh, like I just felt like that was a missed beat that I thought would have really been like, oh shit.
It's funny because tonally for a good chunk of the movie, we're comparing it so much to like Jurassic Park, is that, there's this element of like, oh, well, like kids are going to have to come see this movie. So it's going to be like a family-ish friendly movie. And yeah, there was the one beat that I know you're referring to. And I think this is the time to pivot to that because I think that was in the wake of that other really dramatic beat, which I could not have predicted from a mile away. My minute by minute reaction as we get into it here was like pretty wild, and my friends even clocked me, the reactionless theater goer, was like, no, I think I said no fucking way when it happened. Cause
When what happened, Brandon?
So what I want to get at was, I wasn't sure if I really bought into this, and I actually have like a few other things I want to like glaze and then go on any autistic nitpick about. But narratively, talk about like the big moment we're talking about here, the scene that made me go, you know what? Actually, I'm really glad it's Ewan McGregor and Anne Hathaway. I really am glad. Like I feel like they're well cast. I get their family dynamic now. I see the hope and the love here. As a guy who loves a divorced dad film, the scene that I loved, can you guess where I'm going with this? The scene that it's right before the dramatic scene that we're about to talk about, but can you guess what scene that I had like popped off and was like, this is my favorite moment in the film? It's
No.
it's not the death. Okay. Well, okay. So it was the scene when they kind of like are, Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor are kind of struggling through the peak I was going to say 70s, but technically takes place in 1982. Peak family. Things are a little rough. She's thinking about leaving. He's trying his best, but he's just kind of a flanderized Homer Simpson dad, kind of goofy, well-natured, but not living up to his wife's expectations. And when they finally start to reconnect in this dinosaur realm that they found themselves stuck in, It was the scene where they're walking through the neighborhood and he sees the
Oh
two
yeah.
long-necked dinosaurs boning on the house. And she's like, let me take a photo. I legitimately was like, that's so beautiful. That's the most beautiful moment in this whole movie to me. I was so happy for them as a couple. It was the first time I bought into the movie. I was like, you know what? I'm so happy for them. And then the next scene is finally like a big showdown with this T-Rex. And even that scene has big like highs and lows, well-paced tension, the architecture of the house getting away, of the T-Rex biting her. And then
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor comes up and it's eating shots from this rifle. It's not going down. And that hopelessness is creeping in. Ewan McGregor comes up, hits the dinosaur, the big T-Rex in the leg, falls over. And I'm like, yeah, you'll save your family. Like I was
He
bought in on
double
like the
whammies.
Disney.
It's the leg and then the face, and I couldn't believe. I'm like, oh shit, that worked. And then it
Dude, I
falls
think when
over.
he hit it in the head and it falls over, I turned to my buddy and I was like, finally, something I had not seen in a Jurassic Park movie that felt so badass. Like just a
Yeah.
dinosaur getting knocked out by a sledgehammer by a hoochie daddy short 1970s looking Ewan McGregor just whopping it after he poses with the animal, the other dinosaurs fucking. I was like, man, you know what? This movie's sick. I love this movie. And then the follow up, and I always thought of Zombieland where they're like double tap, just double tap it, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
T Rex is on the ground, has that reconcile with Anne
Yeah,
Hathaway.
you gotta
He
pound that
yeah,
thing to death, dude.
dinosaur gets back up, and my first thought was he grabs Ewan McGregor by the leg, rips that bitch off. He's bleeding out, leg on the ground, hits the ground hard, and my buddy even goes, "Yeah, I think like the head injury killed him." And then I was like, "No, dude, he's gonna totally get his leg back, or like how's he gonna cauterize that leg wound?" Didn't have to think that long because then he full sail eats the
No.
guy, like just tears him apart.
And then starts
But
feeding.
yeah,
And
I
again,
was.
so that part was like, I was like in the same boat of like, "Oh, that's weird. I wonder how they're gonna like help him recover from this." And then it just crunched him. And like, again, great performance by Anne Hathaway, because it's like that's how like that
Yeah.
hunting kind of works animalistically, is like once they have their meal, they stop. So like, I think there's like this sense that like, well, you got to keep running, but it's like, no, it's got what it wants. So it's going to stop. But like the way it lingered on Anne Hathaway and like just selling that moment was like so horrific, and the kids over there.
Oh
And I
yeah.
really think that's where the kids shined, was again in selling that moment, because you're like, fuck, those kids just watched that happen. And like, it's more like on me as the audience goer. And yeah, that really blew me away. And I was okay with the undoing of that too at the end, but like by that point, like I was okay with that, but I'm glad it was very much like a kind of an addendum thing, and it didn't like get immediately undone or anything like that. It was really like kind of an end of the movie bit. But I also don't know what it says about what I think about you and relationships, because you're like, what do you think my favorite moment with them was? And I was like, was it the scene where he's like, I know you've been writing your manuscript? And like, I figured Brandon would just be really like to see the man have a gotcha that you've been lying to me. You're trying to abandon the kids and I thought that would be your highlight moment. So that's a different one
I
that
gotta
I really
say,
appreciate,
yeah.
because that was my favorite part of the whole movie too.
Well, yeah, what I gotta stress is because like that was the moment like the movie went for it. It gave you a really good dramatic beat that was also funny. It was sweet. It really endeared me to the two of them, because the whole movie up until that point, I have to clarify this. Visually, really interested. I love the setting, like the throwback felt like the late 70s, and they clarified the end it was 1982. But that makes sense. You're in the suburbs, so you're not the most wealthy or opulent, so you're driving. I saw like a Gremlin, and I think they drove like, I think it was like a Plymouth Satellite, and I was like, hell yeah, like awesome era for the movie to take place in. Really dug it. But up until the moment with like the dinosaurs in the photo that I was talking about, that really endeared me to it, I was so mad with this movie. I was irate because I thought, in what world does Ewan McGregor get Anne Hathaway, the most batty 1970s mom, with her sweet fit? She was looking really good the whole first half of the movie, and a 2-car, 2-garage, 2-story house in the suburbs on a pizza delivery guy's salary. That made me so angry, dude. I was
Well,
like,
he had
I hate
another
this economy.
job. He had another
Yeah,
job. He was doing the pizza delivery gig to make ends meet, bro.
when they kind of explained it at the end, I was a little bit more like, oh, okay, like it did help settle it. Like, well, yeah, he's probably just trying not to get the house like repossessed or default on the mortgage. But yeah, I was so
Mm.
mad because I was like, oh, dude, this is taking place in like the late '70s. I assume the whole movie. I'm like, wasn't there a gas crisis? Wouldn't driving his car to deliver pizzas be losing you money? Like, I was having all these like back doors, and then like, I was saying to you in the Tony review, they're like, sell your tab for 8 beers and dozen oysters for $10. And I was like, I hate 1970s economy being so much better than ours now. But my point is, I was actually not really enjoying the movie because in the back of my mind, this feeling, this economic disparity that we feel now didn't allow me to feel vibe for anybody in the movie because I just kept being so like, damn, this is a nice suburb. What a great family. Why does Anne Hathaway want to leave? This is sick. Why is Ewan McGregor delivering pizzas when you got this great house, dude? Like, you don't need that extra cash. But when they explain why he's doing it and how he's just been like, not, classic man, not explaining how he feels or getting into any of it, and then even when they argued later, he's like, okay, you want to get into it? He gets into it and she's just like a nervous wreck. And he's like, see, we're talking about it. You don't want to talk about it. I was like, yeah, pretty relatable. I like this. I like this now more. So no, I got all the bad parts of relationship. I got all the good parts of relationship, and then I got a very enjoyable setting. Like again, I think some of the best
Yeah.
parts of the movie was the set deck for all the cool like mid-century homes. Loved again the outfits. Again, the hoochie daddy shorts that Ewan McGregor's wearing, the little pencil skirt things that Anne Hathaway was
Mm.
wearing. All of it really worked for me. And then when it does become kind of a little bit more straightforward, just like Dinosaur Fair, having dinosaurs flop over in like crappy above ground 1970s pools or tripping on those builder grade fences, I was just like, it was fun. And I enjoyed it. And the last bit on that is I enjoyed it so much. I arguably defended this pretty hard at the end of the movie. My friend was like, why did it have to take place in like the late 70s? Couldn't it have just been modern time? And I'm like, my brother in Christ, it is just to save us 20 minutes of screen time where characters go, my phone's not working. And then someone goes,
Yeah, exactly.
did you call the repairman? And they go, ChatGPT's not working, Mom. How do I do that? Like the South Park bit, like there was,
Well, I
I'm
think
glad it took place in that time period.
Yeah, I think also it's just like to mix it up a little bit, but also
Yeah.
like again allows you to have costumes and again set design, like have a little bit more creativity than just basically renting an already filled out house and just being like, yeah, this will do. But I also think it like adds to that sort of sense of like literally when the movie opened and it's like this like I think they were having like their party or whatever, like it was like right at
Yeah, it
the
was like a
beginning and I
block
was like,
party barbecue.
yeah. I was like,
You wouldn't have
welcome to
that nowadays.
Ideal Town, USA. Like it felt so like almost like comically absurd, almost like it honestly made me think of Barbarian, like when it cuts to those
Yeah.
flashbacks of like how pristine and colorful and everything was. Like
It
it
also
made me
took
think of
place
that
in Michigan,
in
which,
Michigan. Yeah.
and we'll come back to this Michigan contemporary timeline thing because I have a few probably closer to end of episode thoughts on that. But yeah, no, I fully agree. I didn't even thought like, yeah, 2020 it would have just been four kids on their iPhones while their parents were just like drunk, in a garage
Yeah.
maybe. Like it wouldn't be a block party, there wouldn't be that neighborly thing. When you said it made you think of something because it was so ideal, there was a moment, and forgive me for saying this, I had a vibe where I'm like, this is so much better than Ice Cream Man 2026, like because it effectively delivers what that movie was and was like an actual story, but it gives what that movie was good at, which was small town USA, wholesome time,
Yeah.
plus a bunch of grisly murders and
Yeah.
a mystery that actually paid off or like gave you some sort of adventure. So yeah, I super dug it for that reason. And yeah, sorry to compare to the Ice Cream Man, but I had that vibe. I was like, man, I wish I saw this 2 weeks ago instead of Ice Cream Man.
If
This was
only
definitely
you're
better.
not comparing, you're contrasting it with the Ice Cream Man, and that's an important key difference. No, I think I see what you mean there for sure, and I think like the bit that killed me too was I think I already said it was my favorite, but was that scene where he takes the photo with the dinosaur in the picture, like genuinely such a great moment. And I think back to the casting of Ewan McGregor, like I love him. He has this like such an endearing quality to him and a sweetness to him that you just like constantly feel like I always feel this way anyway. Like I want to root for this guy. And so like to see them share this like happy moment that feels like natural and organic, because it occurred to me when I was thinking about this, and I think I put it in my letterbox review. I was like, if you thought other dinosaur movies didn't have enough of the dinosaurs shitting and fucking, do I have a good news for you on this movie? Because like it's such a great beat because it's so believable, right? That
Oh,
like you
totally.
would see that and be like, holy gee, like it would immediately kill like tension. Like even if I saw dinosaurs shitting, I'd be like, like as I was running away, I'd giggle at the fact that I'm watching dinosaurs shit. Like I am at the, at the heart of it, I guess, a child, but like it felt like big, but it felt real, and it didn't feel like some absurd kind of nonsense. It just is kind of absurd, but it makes total sense in the film, and I thought was like genuinely the emotional peak of the movie for me, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the most effective beat I've seen in a movie like this in so long. Like, I'm trying to think of any family friendly movie I've seen. And I guess this movie, I probably should have looked up the rating because in my head I thought of this as a family friendly movie. But what happens in that scene after where they reestablish that tension
Mm-hmm.
also
It's
makes it more
definitely
effective.
R in the States, I think.
Yeah, super complimentary. Like again, to deflate your kind of horror mystery, sci-fi dinosaur movie with that beat to only effectively reinstall that like sense of dread and horror. Perfect. It was probably like the absolute best two scenes to have back to back, and I'm so glad because there's so many movies we see where it's like, oh, they did that funny beat too much, and I never felt scared again, even when it was like way scarier objectively later on. And yeah, super well balanced.
Apparently
But
PG-13.
you see, I was getting that vibe too because like again, if they killed that kid and
I
there's
thought
like
there was a
blood coming out
ton
of the
of
room,
blood. I thought there was a lot of blood in this. Like I remember like even his leg, like I'm surprised. I guess I thought that just based on some of the deaths and stuff, but like
there wasn't a ton of
yeah,
swearing. I don't think
evidently.
either. Like they probably had
No.
one f bomb to keep that. Like I'm glad it's PG-13 so more people can see it. And I definitely think like that Ewan McGregor scene like Jurassic Park, if a family was seeing this, the kids would remember that the way we did scenes in those earlier movies. We were like, oh my god, that guy is dead, But it's just awesome that
Yeah.
it was the main character. Yeah, so I guess what I was going to ask too is like I was saying this at the start, but speaking about like just diversity and good dinosaur fare, like we have that serpent scene that we got into. There's some good like pterodactyl scenes, the T-Rex scene, the raptors I thought were kind of interesting. And one thing I wanted to kind of shoehorn in here, I like that with our modern science and technology, we know that dinosaurs are very closely related to like birds and chickens. Like if you've ever seen
Hmm.
that video where they put like a tail on a chicken, it walks like a T-Rex. It's crazy. But the point is like, what do you think of the designs of the dinosaurs as far as like scale, as far as they looked, as far as like updating the classic lizard that we've come to know? Like it's a slight adjustment that I don't think bothers people, but I appreciate it as a nerd.
I actually think it probably would bother people because conceptually, at least I would assume, because like even the fact that like I knew the feather thing and whatever, and like from I don't know when, from ages ago, it still feels different to me than what my brain expects, because like in the popular culture, it's the Jurassic Park movies that's like told everybody what dinosaurs look like. So I would imagine like general audiences or people that just don't know will probably be like, why do they have feathers like that? There at least will be a few people out there like that just have no
It'll be a
idea
good
why
learning moment for the new
conceptually.
generation for their
Yeah,
dad to
yeah,
be
yeah. To
like,
really
actually,
come in and
son,
be like,
Jurassic Park. Yeah, it had better CGI renders than actual dinosaur science at the time. So that's why we all think it's lizards, but they're kind of like bird lizards, really. And then the son will be
yeah.
like, fucking mind blown. But, or
And
daughter.
like,
Daughters
so
can be interested
I
in lizards.
knew. No. I knew that like as soon as I saw it, I figured it was like I'm like, okay, they're gonna go down that like more grounded route for that, which I thought was cool. And then there was the other ones though, where like again, I don't know like how true those like I guess I'd probably crocodiles or whatever more than an alligator technically, but like the those things or even that snake, I was like, is that like an OG kind of snake? Like I don't know the science on that, but it looked fucking horrifying and I
Vanilla
didn't care.
OG
Well, it
Snake
was so
Zero.
fucking thick, like and its head was like equally as big as its body. So I was like, it just had like a very silly, not a silly because it was horrifying, but just like when it came out, and I feel like I remember it being dramatically smaller when we first see it, right? Because he just kind of comes out and it's almost like slug length, I feel like, or at least that's how I remember it. And then so the fact that it's fucking ginormous by the end of it was really funny, but like yeah, I just remember thinking the shape of it was funny, but I don't know if like they went for just like that sort of like scientific accuracy for everything. But it does make it feel a little different in effect. And I hope the
Hmm.
impact isn't on audiences. I hope the impact is not like, whoa, what the fuck? That looks stupid. Like I
Because yeah,
hope that's like a
we also
little
want
better than
more.
that.
Yeah, like we also as audiences want newer stuff, and I felt like just that mild
Mhm.
departure from the Jurassic Park look to being a little bit more feathered was so good. And again, I think the first
Well, it's the
instance of
same thing
dinosaurs
about
that
the
you,
80s or whatever that you said, right? Like it's another
yeah,
way to differentiate the film from the Jurassic World stuff. If they just did a
yeah,
modern day thing and they
because
all
they
looked the same, then it's going to be the same.
well, because they did do like a modern day Jurassic Park, and it was like barely, it was like a montage really at the start of the movie. Like, this is
Hmm.
dinosaurs in New York as like zoo attractions. And then, like,
Yeah.
it's like I don't need to see a, Stegosaurus put a hole through a flat screen TV, So, like, I was kind
Yeah.
of stoked. But yeah, no, I think the first iteration of the dinosaurs we see is like a raptor, which again is sort of like
Yeah.
in Jurassic Park with the raptors in the lab. And that raptor is so iconic, it literally inspired the Toronto Raptors basketball team, which came out, I believe, like the same year. Like they launched the Toronto Raptors because dinosaurs were big in the '90s, right? So, yeah, I just a little Toronto pride there. I was like, yeah, I love the new Raptor
Ugh.
being kind of ferocious and like a little furry. And again, that was the first instance where she shoots it, and it like falls over. And it was just like Zombieland rules. It was like double tap that will chase you, and it does. And like
Yeah.
effectively, that's the reason why that one neighbor gets killed. She walks out, and goes, "What are you doing out here?" Like, get inside, and she just gets her head ripped
Yeah.
off. And they're like, again, there was some moments in this like, oh, they went for it. And again, in a Jurassic Park movie, you have just heard her like screaming as they're running away. So I thought like it was they
It
went for
had
it a little
that
bit
mean
more.
spirit. Yeah. Like kind
Yeah,
of underbelly, but they didn't have it
yeah.
consistently enough, I
So
thought. But
So to segue into that, how did you feel about because the hopelessness you said you really felt like that was like a part of the movie that was like this is good. It's really building to this like real overall like oh wow how are they going to come back? Now you first see the time sphere thing.
mhm.
Did that start getting you nervous that they wouldn't be able to land the plane? How they were going to land the plane? Plane being the movie in this
I
metaphor.
I think to
And then
the
when they use it at
movie's
the end,
credit,
how did that affect you?
yeah, I think to the movie's credit, I wasn't really thinking about it too much because I wasn't exactly sure where it was gonna go. But when they first show that like, oh, there's another one and there's smaller ones now, and that's what they are, I was like, okay. And that's where I thought like again I was remembering a trailer that I evidently did not see because I'm like maybe they jump in and that puts them in the fucking future or some shit or like in a different era or like something. So I was like way off with what I thought was going to happen. The teaser trailer really gets you, lets you fill in the blanks yourself. But I did think it was like it was a little too hokey for me at the end because I was like, oh wow, of course these portals open up and conveniently 20 minutes before the incident and puts you in the exact location you need to be. Like I just thought that was kind of lame. And I don't know if some fucking guy is going to come into the comments and be like, well, actually, if we're most theoretically were to pop up, that's how that would work. I don't care. No one knows that except you. And from a storytelling perspective, I did just think it was kind of cheap. And particularly with how they like late game established the rules for it. Like we see the one appear and then it disappears and then it's gone. And then they're like, well, conveniently at the librarian's house, this one just keeps appearing consistently and at a steady interval and all that kind of shit. So
Did
and
you
then
also
like just
predict
kept appearing.
when you
Oh yeah,
saw
I
that
knew for
one?
sure that kid. I was like, I think they're either all not gonna make it, like something's gonna happen, like someone's not gonna make it. And I honestly, it kind of annoyed me because the movie I felt like took just like too long on that beat to make that better, because I felt like the first girl just goes, she flies in and she clears it, and I was like, okay, now the next kid is gonna go, and I didn't know which kid, but I'm like, the next kid's gonna go. Of course, it had to be the son. I was like, he's gonna go and jump, and he's not gonna fucking make it. And then I felt like they did like way too long of a moment. Like the fucking thing disappeared and appeared, like I felt like 7 times between
Yeah.
the girl jumping and him jumping, and I just like, it drew this out so long, and it felt like it was building, like it just didn't work, because it felt like it was building like an epic moment, like he's about to leap or something, but we literally just saw someone else just very casually do it, so it doesn't feel epic. And then you linger too long where I'm like, well, like I fucking know, like hurry up, he's not gonna make it. And now you look like an idiot because you're not gonna make it because you fucking waited forever, and then he jumps and didn't make it. And I was like, so it kind of sucked the moment about, like, I wasn't like, haha, like I didn't even gleefully enjoy it. Like I was like,
Yeah.
like it
Well,
just felt
it's
a little
funny
too long to get there.
because that I kind of agree. I almost wish he was just like, because they were clearly trying to build a lot of tension with that scene, showing like the pterodactyls closing in
Yeah.
oh, you know, and but you, the smart viewer, knows why that pops in and out of existence, so that way somebody can jump 3 stories in the air and
Yes,
totally whiff it.
exactly.
So I would have loved for that first girl to go, and then because that kid's kind of like into that girl, he wants to prove he's brave because he's been striking out the whole movie. He did not beat up his bully. He did not shoot a single arrow other
Didn't
than one that
fully
hit the
pick
broadside
up
of a snake.
on the signs that were being laid
Yeah,
out there for him.
yeah, exactly. When she's like, he's like, I believe in God. She's like, sometimes I don't either, and he's just like, oh, biggest theater laugh other than the dinosaurs having sex. So, but yeah, so the kid keeps striking out. I was expecting him because he's like the strikeout kid, you know. I was expecting him to be like, yeah, you know what, I can do it too, mom, trying to like impress her, and then he'd be like, I'm ready, and like maybe a 3 second, like, yeah, you got this, and then he goes and whiffs it. But yeah, it was like
Yeah,
so like,
like
we gotta go.
they could have
And at the end,
executed it to make it more funny for
a
sure,
little
too, or
punchier. Like that would be
something.
definitely like
Yeah.
a deconstruction nitpick to like if that could have been like just slightly edited differently. I think it could have been a little stronger. But like the whole picture I enjoyed so much. But that was one of those moments where I was like, yeah. But it did lead us to that scene with the librarian in her house.
Yep.
And I have so much headcanon. I hope the last 20 minutes of this is just all my theories. But that librarian in that house is way too nice for a librarian to own. Her husband must have had serious bank. There's got to be a reason why their house was on the highest point of town, away from the town.
Do you know
We'll
what
come back to this.
librarians in the 80s made, dude? That she could be loaded. I
Dude,
had the exact same thought. Well, I didn't have the sexist thought where you're like, well, her husband must be loaded. I had the thought, I'm like, damn, dude, this librarian's making bank. This house is fucking ginormous.
my two buddies separately said the same thing. They're like, why does she have like the nicest house on the top of the cliff? But then it was like, you see her wedding photos, her husband's passed from the dinosaurs in the house. So I'm like, okay, maybe her husband had like some super cool job, maybe secret government related. But anyways, that's we'll get to that after. But my point is, this is the moment that, because it happened a few times where I kept saying like, oh, double tap that dinosaur, like shoot it one more time, be a better shot, please, like kid with a bow and arrow especially. But I kept reminding myself, because of that late 70s time period feeling of the movie, it kept reminding me of the Vietnam statistics for how many soldiers shot into the tree line, or like not deliberately, but almost psychologically were missing so many shots more than any other war because they were so
Right.
horrified that they were whiffing. And so it's like, it's a staggering amount of like, I shouldn't say research, but I saw stats. I was just like, yeah, they shot X amount of rounds, only this many confirmed kills or shots on target. This is like the most missed shots. Like, you know, their accuracy, if this was a Call of Duty match, was like the worst war in history. And I kept thinking, I'm like, yeah, 1970s Americans could not shoot for shit. Like librarian whiffs, Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor whiffing, bow and arrow. I guess to give you these great movie moments, but yeah, she like shoots one dinosaur. I don't even know if she kills it, but she gets, you know, mucked. And then eventually they get to the roof, and thank God the whole family jumps at once, because like I can't do another fake out or like 5 minute scene of like, you ready? We're doing it. but yeah, they get in the time portal, which magically appears as they established earlier. They end up back in 1982, and that's when they said that like the era. I'm like, okay, yeah, late
Yeah.
70s, that makes sense. Like I was thinking it was maybe early or mid 70s, but yeah. So they end up back in the Back to the Future, but it's still the
Hmm.
past because it's 10 minutes before the big lightning storm that causes the town to teleport, the suburb to disappear and go to the Mesozoic era and all that. Conveniently, like you said, like I think it was like 13 minutes or something, like 20 minutes or less.
Yeah, it was
Which
20
is
minutes because they're like, oh, we got 20 minutes. And then she runs over and it was like, oh shit, now they have 19 minutes.
to the world's most convenient phone booth. I don't know if a giant digital clock phone booth like that. It must have. Somebody must have looked this up because like I don't think they would have made this to whatever. But the phone booth, giant
I
clock
mean,
on
you
it, and
could
now
have.
you know me with Mission Impossible. Whenever I see a countdown near the end of the movie, I get so nervous that it's going to be 45 more minutes. Luckily, this movie doesn't do that. It does wrap up with a nice bow, but some would say it's a nice bow, but I would say it has more questions than answers. So she calls
Oh, yeah.
assumedly a bunch of people, as you find out at the end of the movie, to save their lives to get out of town, including their dick neighbor. Um, but she calls her husband, but it's 1982. They don't have cell phones. He's working late at his pizza delivery job. So, assumedly, she called the pizza shop, placed an order for a medium
Yeah,
pepperoni
because he
pizza,
comes
let's
out
say.
with the pizza.
Has
Yeah.
no idea they're there. He's like, kids, what are you doing? Dad's back. Yay. Condemning her whole other family to die, herself and her two kids to get sent back
I
and live
had
through
that
that hell.
immediate fight. See,
It
this
gets worse.
part,
It gets
though,
worse.
this part, though, is extra fucked because like I'd say like Endgame and this like multiverse stuff
Multiverse.
going
Yeah.
on. I think pre that era, you get away with this totally fine
Yeah.
because it used to be like, oh, they'll be disappearing, so it doesn't, and then they'll get back there in the end, so like it'll all work out. But yes, now we have this concept in our time travel movies where you don't like just disappear, you split off and there's like two versions of you. So literally when she calls, like as soon as they got there, by the way, they teleport him and they're like, we're 20 minutes before. I literally leaned over to Adrian and was like, they're going to call and order pizza, get dad back guaranteed. Like as soon as they put back in modern time, I predicted that exactly. But then, yes, I was having that same moment as you. I'm like, wait a minute, they're just fucking icing like all of their like the three other
Oh,
versions of themselves.
so there's a part two to the moral implications because it gets so much worse. But what I was going to linger on, other than being plus sized and loving movies, you and I both have experience working in places that serve pizza. Uh, what pizza in 1970 is made so quick? It must have been a Little Caesars Hot and Ready, which to be fair was founded by one of the owners of the
Bro,
Detroit
well,
Lions.
let's calm down on that because do you
They
not even
make a
remember
pizza and he
in our
delivers it.
lifetime, remember the whole gimmick in Spider-Man 1?
One or
2? I don't
two,
remember
30
which
minutes
one.
or it's free.
The
I know that's
gimmick
a
is
thing.
30 minutes or it's free. So like,
But
yeah, dude,
13
okay?
minutes?
It's
That's
the neighborhood
crazy.
joint, dude. It's the neighborhood joint. He got
My
out there just in
suspension
time.
of
It was
disbelief
perfect.
after time travel was hung up on how long it takes to cook, order, and then deliver a pizza across town. At 13
Truthfully,
minutes.
like in my experience in an actual like I'd be faster at probably like like restaurant like that, but
Oh, I
yeah,
worked at
you're
Pizza
looking at
Hut. I
least
worked
like
at like Pizza.
10,
I worked
20
all over,
minutes per
man.
pie.
One single pie, like if you're making it and you're timing yourself, which I did because I'm a keener, I swear the fastest you could get it made, sent through the oven without it being doughy, would be like 8 to 9 minutes, and that means he drove 4 minutes after it came
I
hot and ready out of the
know
oven.
for a fact, though, that they had debates where they're like, fuck, we need to pick a time that's short enough that they won't be mad. Like, the audience won't be mad that they didn't do more to
Well,
try and save
they blew
everybody
it.
else.
They blew
But
it.
it
Yeah,
has to be less time that people
that
like, so
pizza
it's
can be
got to
made.
find a pocket. So I
Yeah.
wasn't as bothered by that. I didn't really think about that in the moment. I was more hung up on the fact of the a ton of people, including themselves, that they were letting get killed
Okay,
at that
so
point.
the part two of this and why I say it gets worse because I didn't actually clock this. My friend pointed out, and I want to rewatch the entire like hour and a half before it gets to this like closing shots of the movie. They see at the end where they're doing like a neighborly barbecue, with those who survived the blip,
Yep.
basically. The neighbor girl, the one that lost her parents, she's there, and so is another
And so
version
is
of herself.
her version of
A,
herself. Yeah.
a paradox. So like just explaining that. Explain, because my point
Well,
is
it's
on
the
this.
same
No, 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 no,
explanation, right?
no. But okay, hear me out. Does
Okay.
Ewan McGregor not see the two daughters and go, "Wait a minute, honey, are you saying you condemned by choice the rest of our family
Oh yeah, they're
and our
having a
other
domestic
kids?"
about that. Like the kids that
Dude,
he knew are dead.
I would love for this director, who obviously does really good horror, to have a follow up, which is just like him, like going insane and trying to figure out the physics and shit. Because it's like, you're not my wife. We live days apart, and you change reality literally. As like, my actual wife is in the Mesozoic era with our two kids. Worried they didn't have me, Ewan McGregor, to defend them for the first like week in the dinosaur period. So like, that's infinitely fascinating to me. I was like, this is
Presumably,
crazy.
though, they could also get back and join them again and creating another layer. There could be like 7 of these people running
Now
around by the
we're in
time the
sequel
events
territory
take
that's nothing to do
place.
with dinosaurs, all about time traveling wives and how pissed they would be coming back with like an eye
Dude,
patch and one arm.
just to follow this up with like a straight drama film about like relationships and the problems like stemming out of the implications of all of this. Yeah, no, on one hand, I'm like glad this movie wasn't 20 plus minutes longer to try and like wrap up and answer everything and like have this whole thing about, well, the fucking government or whatever was doing this or that and the other thing and whoopsie daisies. Like, it really just kind of gave us the bare minimum, which is like, yep, this small area came in, the government came in, they fucking contained it, minimal issues, whatever, and they're still investigating. And then like again, they you can blink and miss it when they're at that like barbecue or whatever, and you see the other version of the same
I did
girl.
miss the other daughter, and
Yeah,
that's why
so
I was
I
so freaked
noticed
out.
it too because it was just their families. I think I don't think it was like
Because without
everybody
her,
because
it
yeah, she
implies
patches
that,
in.
they survived this like weird occurrence. But with her, it makes everybody around them fully know and believe that what they're saying about the is facts. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
if
but even, I mean,
she wrote
her
the book.
presence being there doesn't mean anything because, like, it doesn't add anything because, again, Ewan McGregor is there, so you guys are there too. So, like, again,
No,
like,
no.
you don't need that implication.
No. What I'm saying is like, okay, so imagine like the daughter said, "Hey, mom, dad, come to the backyard. Leave me at home." Right now, there's one of everybody in this timeline. And whatever Anne Hathaway says, and the kids back up, and the other girl says, like, "Yeah, there was dinosaurs." It's sure it's believable, but now the first ever case in the world of there being two of the same person identically, with all
Right.
that, it then implies that Anne Hathaway could have in fact saved everybody if she wanted to, or anybody in that time window. So the moral implication is huge. But now, secondly, it's kind of like any magician that's like, "I've been to hell," Sure, buddy, sure. I know a whole town disappeared off the face of the earth, and you've got the only explanation. But that second daughter now allows the whole world, without any shadow of a doubt, to be like, this is so incredible and so wild that you literally travel through time as a different version of yourself to prevent this like final destination zapping of all this neighborhood. So like, the second daughter is like, you have this great story, but the second daughter is like, all the non-believers, all the religious people of the world would see this and be like, this is truly true. It is like a literal miracle to have this second one as proof. We, the audience, and the characters in the story have
No,
the
no,
proof.
dude.
We've watched
Alex
it, we lived
Jones would
it.
be like, they're twins. They were separated at birth. It's all a
Yeah.
conspiracy.
It's a psyop to believe that they actually put, they're making
She
the
was COVID
dinosaurs gay.
vaccinated and they split down the middle and became two of the same being, just like the
Yeah.
substance.
Dude, the Alex Jones take on this would be great. And so this is a great segue then, because this leads me into sequel bait for this movie, and we do this occasionally, but there's so many routes you could go. Like you said, the horror, the drama,
Oh, it should. No. Don't follow this up at all, please, God.
No. Okay, well, do you then follow Anne Hathaway and the two kids without Ewan McGregor? Zapped back in the past, they survive the whole movie. They come out of the time portal just to find their family having a sick barbecue, and it picks up right in that moment of like, God damn. Or, which this is my favorite theory, because like you said, Barbarian earlier, I'm glad you brought it up, but it takes place in Michigan. How fun would it be is if kind of like they did the Predator movies where they do Prey, they go back to like ancient Native Americans. What if they did End of Oak Street and they just put it in slightly different time periods? Even doing, say, something like the ghettos in like rural Detroit, or like, sorry, Detroit even, where it's like end of Oak Complex or something. And it's like, now you've got like the Leprechaun Back to the Hood edition of this, where it's people that have way more guns and drugs in that time period. Or you go to like post 2008 recession Detroit, and they say, oh yeah, back in the early 80s this happened, but that was miles away. And they're like, well, the tectonic shifts, the same occurrence happened here, but it's a totally different graphic, totally different time period. I think it
No,
opens it up for all
I
that.
think I would hate that tremendously, because I can already see the obligatory beats where like now they have to teach the characters what we know, which is that there's portals and they can potentially get back, and I could just see the repetitions over and over and over.
Okay,
So
here's how you solve
I'm
this.
firmly in the camp of no, the biggest solution, don't make another movie. It's fine to leave it one and done. Do something else.
No, okay. So the daughter goes off to Cornell University to study like astrophysics and shit, and becomes like a scientist, is what we're told.
With Carl Sagan.
Okay. So she goes and becomes the new Neil deGrasse Tyson's intern, let's say. But the real Neil deGrasse Tyson, the story, this is what I was getting at earlier, the librarian's husband with the big mansion on the hill, who was so conveniently close to this. They never tell you what he does. My theory is he somehow works for the government or for some sort of space agency or something cool like that. And he knew this was happening. He was studying in the town. That's why he bought the house on the hill to overlook the town. And he miscalculated. So his house got zapped back in time too. And in the sequel, we have our Cornell graduate daughter now with a more like late 80s vibe, the consumer era, like shopping malls, think Stranger Things, with him. And they're now tag teaming to explain like, yes, we found this out since the incident back in 82. And they get us up to speed real quick. And now we got Dinosaur shopping mall, 80 glam, and we get maybe some of the cast returning. Yeah, like I don't know, dude. Sign me up. Sequel bait that. I'm so down for that, because I trust this movie.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I think that's an egregious idea. I respect the movie so much for literally just bringing them back and basically wrapping it up within like 2 minutes, man. I think too often do we get caught in the trap of over explaining and like trying to, like, I think the best outcome of this movie is exactly what's happening now. We are talking about, what does this mean? What could it imply? How would you react if you found out your wife let the children you knew die? Like it invites conversation and questions that are always going to be more interesting and compelling than anything the sequel can do when it sets it up. So I would say, guys, great work, everybody. You did a phenomenal job on the movie. I think everyone should go see it. It's a great time at the movies, and please just leave it there and make something awesome again, because clearly you can do it.
We'll see you guys in 2029 when they have Oak Street 2 Back to the Hood in theaters near you.
Yeah, this is going to be Cloverfield. It'll be like 10 Oak Lane and shit like that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And they'll just ruin perfectly good movies' twists because they put the fucking name in it.
You got to have the end of Oak Drive, the end of Oak Crescent, Oak Terrace.
Dude, there's another one too where like the 10 Cloverfield Lane like sequel to this is basically that same, what the fuck was that movie we watched? It was The First Night You Came Over, and it was like she's trapped in the house and he's like, the real world's fucking crazy.
Oh,
or
Freaks.
Whatever. Freaks, yeah. So it's that setup where like they just like, oh, the real world's fucked up and it's crazy. And then like that's where I think an interesting movie does that, is they give it a fake title for the marketing. Like call it fucking like Contain, or I don't know, some bullshit. And then just have the reveal at the end be the title card is actually like you zoom out from like the word contained and you realize it's like, oh, end of Oak Avenue or something like that. And you're like, holy shit, there really were fucking dinosaurs out there the whole time. So it's the same bit, but it's like it ends. It's like all these fucking movies that can't title themselves were shit. It's like the whole time when I was watching 10 Cloverfield Lane, I fucking knew there were aliens out there because it's in the Cloverfield fucking universe. So don't put that in the title. But yeah, that version is like just come out with a completely different movie. You think it's a whole different thing. And then the end reveal is that secretly this is part of the Oak Street universe.
So what you're saying is you're a big fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe when they came out with the Thunderbolts with a big asterisk, because it was actually Thunderbolts aspects, the new
Conceptually, I like
Avengers.
that idea. Conceptually, I like the idea. It's honestly like it's sort of like Dune did it, right? Like originally everyone's like, "Oh, it's just called Dune. It's just called Dune." And then at the end it's like Dune Part 1, right? So like these things
Wow.
happen. They play with this often, so
Yeah. Oh, it'll be good. But yeah, no, I'm glad we got to see the movie that we both enjoyed. It was a popcorn flick. Like it's pretty rare. It feels like these days so polarizing. You know, it's just like we saw a movie in 1982 and everyone enjoyed it, and you want to bring your whole family to it, laugh at some dinosaurs, and
nothing
yeah,
polarizing happened in the 80s at all. Nothing going on in the 80s that warrants further speculation.
yeah. What did Ronald Reagan say about the end of Oak Street phenomena? And that's what we get in the sequel, dude. That's why we got to come back. We
Oh
got to
my
come
God.
back
Reagan, the
to get
White House. It takes
commentary.
place in Washington, bro.
We got to have Reagan doing Reaganomics and having like big dinosaur cartoons based on real life tragedies, dude. This would be
No,
peak,
they do.
peak.
The best scene that in that version is they do like a movie and it's like in Washington, and then they have this like completely bullshit made up thing where they're like, it's Pennsylvania Avenue, but do you know what it was called before Pennsylvania Avenue? It was
Lincoln back
called
in the
Oak
day.
Avenue, and you're like, oh
Yeah,
fuck,
dude, that's when they do the. I always think the movie Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
yeah,
And they would
yeah,
be like,
yeah.
back in the day, Lincoln had a tunnel under the White House called Oak Lane, and then they
Yeah,
go
you're
back
like,
to
oh,
dinosaur time, and Abraham Lincoln, shredded to death, is just fucking super yoked because of time travel. He can't die of old age, and he's like passing down lessons about freedom to Ronald Reagan, and I don't know, like
yeah.
Rampage Jackson standing in as Mr. T in this contemporary redo of it because he was Mr. T in the A-Team movie. Dude, we just gotta quit our jobs and just
I need to
become
contact
screenwriters.
somebody at a studio because I really think if a studio created like a hidden like universe and franchise, but like every single movie was marketed as like whatever it is, and then at the end it's just like, dude, it's all connected, bro. It's part of the other one, and just like a secret, subtle franchise in existing universe that could be money. But yeah,
See,
I
here's
hope
where
it's
you're
not this
wrong.
one.
All movies are connected, and we are the Alex Jones of podcasts, of movies, of movie podcasts, clarification. And we will connect them all for you if you like and
Don't lump
subscribe.
me in with that.
Yeah.
Call yourself that if you want. I'd like to think of myself as the well, I don't know about fatter, but fatter, dumber Roger Ebert is what I'm going for. Way dumber though, like way dumber. I don't want to be as intellectual. But
I'm gonna
hopefully
get a little.
I don't know how big he was at his height. He's shorter, I'll know that much.
I'm gonna get a leather jacket and a red backdrop and start calling myself the pre-diabetic Jeremy Johns. So I think that's where we'll leave that off.
Well, and on that thrilling note, everybody, thank you for listening to another episode of the Screen Love Affair podcast. Keep it glued right here for the latest and greatest, and sometimes not, on movies that you should put on your radars. We'll see you next time.